Hey everyone, this is our very first masterclass and we're super excited. My name is Nicole and this is Michelle. We're in business development here at Jill's office. And really the purpose of these masterclasses was to bring some really valuable information from some awesome industry experts in different industries, different fields, different experience. And they're gonna bring some really good information to help you grow your business the smart way. And so that's sort of what this whole masterclass series is about. So today's our very first one, so we're excited. Thank you for coming on, and please make sure to comment during the whole thing. We'll have our guest speaker jump in and answer some questions, and then make sure that you share them too in some of your groups and on your pages.
Exactly. Thanks, Nicole. So yeah, like Nicole was saying, you know, we're bringing on experts that are in the trenches and that know what works and know what's effective to help you. But we know that you're in the trenches as well. So please comment, please share so we can help build each other up to build better businesses. So we're really excited about our topic for today. We wanted to start out with a topic that applies to every single business owner, no matter what industry you're in, no matter if you're selling anything, and that is selling, the psychology of sales. Now, I don't know, well, we have this discussion. Nicole and I both kind of grimace a little at the word sales. You know, it often has kind of a negative connotation, at least in my head. You think of the sleazy car salesman kind of thing. And I don't like thinking that I'm in sales, even though a lot of what we do is selling and educating throughout the day. But the reality is you cannot run a successful business without having a solid knowledge and education in tactics and sales.
Right. I think sometimes a lot of our business owners too, they actually dread thinking about sales. Like they don't want to do it. They're afraid to do it, but they know that they need to, but they really, you know, they struggle with it sometimes.
Right. And I think part of it's reprogramming our own brains to realize really sales is communication. It's communicating and motivating people to do what you feel is the best thing for them. And we're constantly selling throughout the day, even if we're not a salesperson per se. I mean, everything from obviously running your business and convincing anyone that they need what you have to offer to, you know, selling your employees and motivating them to do their job well, to getting the right employees into your business or selling them on working for you. Even in your family life, you know, selling your kids, eat your vegetables, get your homework done, do your chores. You know, we're constantly actually selling all day long. And so the thing that I love about sales is there's so many layers to it. And so even if you think that you are the best salesperson, there's always more to learn. When I was thinking about this morning, I thought about it, and maybe this is a horrible analogy, but that it's almost like trying to understand a woman. And I guess I can say this because I am one, that you think you know, there's always more to learn. And whether you are a woman or a salesperson, or you just have to interact with them all day, we all need to better understand it. And so it's the same with sales. So we're super excited to dig in today into this topic. And to teach us today, we brought in Curt Kempton. He is the owner of ResponsiBid, which is a service or software that helps you to be able to better sell your service online. He's a phenomenal businessman and also a phenomenal person. We love Curt. He's an incredible individual, but he really understands and knows how to get into your customers, kind of how to get in their whole head and to be able to better sell whatever your service is. So Curt, we're excited to have you here today. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me. This is gonna be really fun.
Awesome. All right, well, let's dig in. Let's learn about sales.
Well, the first thing I need to make sure everyone understands is that when we are done here, you will not any better understand women. that's first and foremost.
All the secrets.
That's right.
I've put together some slides that I'm gonna share my screen and hopefully you guys can see all that. But today what I want to talk about is the psychology of selling services. It does translate to products. Like there's in fact a lot of the things I'm going to be talking about today really do pull from products are known for being more easily and transactionally sold. So I'm hoping that as I go through this, if you're thinking about something in your own business that you're not really quite sure about how maybe it's going to correlate, I don't want to talk just about theory today. I want to talk about like really how this works. So Michelle and Nicole, if you guys will watch the comment section, let me know, because I won't be able to see it, but let me know if there's any questions that come up along the way that we need to tie this back to how other people are trying to, maybe roadblocks that are hitting or things like that. I'm going to do that, okay?
Yep. Please comment. We want your questions. We want your advice, what works for you. So for sure.
Yeah. So the first thing I want people to understand is that I don't consider myself a great salesperson. I have a lot of like mental hangups, like Michelle was talking about earlier. I think Nicole was alluding to it. Just we don't want to be like that sleazy salesperson, even though like if you want to stay in business, you have to keep selling your stuff. So we all try to find this sort of balance. And what we're going to talk about today is really what I've discovered as I own my own service company, and also as I've started ResponsiBid and really learned how to systematize the selling process and understand that if we talk to people the way they want to be talked to, and if we tell them the things that they want to understand and know, and if we understand where people are coming from, it's funny. I don't think I'll teach you probably too many new things today, but I'm going to take you down a whole different road probably than you've already thought of, and hopefully open your eyes to things like, oh my gosh, that's true for me too. And get a little bit away from your business and understand how to sell it better. So whether you use ResponsiBid or don't use ResponsiBid, everything I'm going to cover today is going to be really important for how you position yourself as you're trying to get people to buy from you. So with all that said, the first thing that I want to make sure people understand is that we are a culture of listeners and teachers. Now, what I mean by that is that when people buy now, well, let me go back to how it used to be. There'll be people who remember this, is when you bought something before, you would get a catalog and you would figure out the differences between things if you were going to research it. But for the most part, you would get in your car, you'd go drive somewhere, see what options they had, buy that thing, and then that was how you bought stuff. And so what happened is there was a salesperson in the store who would have techniques and slimy sometimes ways, but to try and help you make a decision so that you didn't leave that store without buying their thing. So sales has been around a really long time, but when the internet showed up, everybody turned into researchers. So now you don't have to get in your car and drive to 4 stores. You now can just bounce from website to website to website, to a Google search, back to another website, back to a Google search, back to another website. And you can research stuff. Even in Amazon, Amazon's figured out that if I can sell enough products that all have reviews, you can do all your research inside of my store. And so people are used to this research. Okay, so there's teachers, people who are giving that information online, and then there's people listening to that, and that's the research. So the question I ask people is, how many web pages do you think a customer would be willing to visit before they make a decision? The answer might shock you, but maybe it won't, because I bet you this number is even going up every day. But that number is 30 web pages. And what I'm talking about here is significant purchase decisions, typically anything over about $200. People are willing to look at more web pages. Now, obviously, as we start talking about vehicles and things where the prices start to go up, those pages also seem to follow. But I'm trying to kind of put this in the category of services that typically sell somewhere between about $150 up to about $2,000. In that range, you're going to find a lot of people are willing to look at a lot of stuff. So
that number actually really surprises me. I would have probably guessed like 10 or 15. I would have half that. So
really?
That surprises me, yeah. And I'm a big researcher, so that's yeah. It's fierce competition.
Well, and don't forget that pages go fast. Like when you're on Google and you click in, you might look at 4 or 5 pages on one website before you bounce back to Google. You also might give that page only 5 seconds of your time before you're back to Google. So keep in mind that 30 number is how many clicks someone's willing to do to get the information that they need. But that doesn't mean that every page is weighted the same for how much reading that they'll do. Yeah, we have super short attention spans these days, right? So what's important, the question that we need to ask now is, in those 30 pages, what are we trying to accomplish? And I'm saying we, meaning you, like when you're researching, and I'm talking to you, Michelle, and I'm talking to you, Nicole, but I'm talking to all the listeners. When you think about when you're researching something, what are the answers you're trying to get? So I've listed a few here. I'm going to share them with you, but I don't want you to feel like this is everything that could ever be, but it's probably a pretty good summary of what's out there. So when someone's researching, they know that they can't trust a company probably to give them these answers. They have to read between the lines. They're going to find these in different places other than just the people who are selling. But they want to know what can go wrong. Everybody knows that if they buy something, a service or a product, they know that something can go wrong. What is my exposure here is what people want to know. What other options are out there? Like, I know I can buy this pair of socks, but I know there's socks that have funny things on them. There's things that have my favorite, I love unicorns. I want to have unicorns on my sock. I mean, but it also could be like wool versus cotton versus polyester. Like, there's so many different things. And people want to know when I make this purchase that I weighed out my options.
That's so true, because when I go on Amazon now, I won't ever buy anything before first seeing the other suggested. Like I have to go there every time now. It's like an addiction, because I want to know, wait, I don't even know what I missed, what I don't know that I should be looking for.
Yeah.
So I can really see that.
Well, imagine a service now. So that's where it gets really complicated. We're going to talk more about this, but imagine a service. You're having someone come onto your property to do something. Not only do you want to know what can go wrong on your property, but you also want to know, like, when I have this company come to fix my garage door, they're going to try and sell me a specific spring. Do I need to ask for a special spring that's way better than the rest? Or do I need to have a different motor? Like, they're going to just sell me the motors that they're dealers for, right? Like, and that's true for garage doors, but it's true for maid service. It's true for, I come from the window cleaning and pressure washing world. So what other options are out there? People want to know reviews. They want third-party reviews. We'll talk about that. They want to know what makes you different. So different can be a good thing or a bad thing, right? We'll talk about that. And they want to know what's the best option. Now, best is different for everyone. I used to work at a bike shop. I thought I was going to be a professional mountain biker, so I had to work at a bike shop. And I'm working there, and people walk in all the time and go, what's the best bike? I'm like, are we talking about the best bike for your child? Are we talking about the best bike for your grandparents? Are we talking about someone who wants to go down mountain bike trails, or someone who wants to ride down the road or ride on a beach? Like, what is the best? Like, how dare you ask me that question? But best is so personal, right? And also, most people don't want the best. That's another really important thing as we go into this. Keep in mind, most people don't want the best. But everybody wants to know, what's it going to cost? Everybody wants to know that. Because they're getting ready to say, I'm going to give you these dollars, and I expect you to give me something that I value more than those dollars. So how many of those dollars is this going to require? Now, I have really great news.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Michelle.
I'll just say we have a quick question here.
Yeah.
Janine, hi, Janine McGrath. She's wondering what the source of that statistic is. Correct me if I'm wrong, Janine. I'm guessing it's the one where you said the average person will check 30 websites.
Yeah, that is from Marcus Sheridan's book called They Ask You Answer. Okay. So I'm sure he got that out of a study, but that's where I got it from. So here's what's important, and this is super good news for everybody, is that most service companies have the marketing strategy of just burying their heads in the sand and doing whatever they want. What I mean by that is that in today's world, we know that everybody's inundated with marketing. So mostly we take on the marketing approach of this brute force attack. I need to be out there. I need people to find me. I need to get found. And what's happened, there's an allegory about this. The allegory goes like this. There was once a man walking along who had a coat on, and the sun and the wind had an argument about who could get him to take his coat off. So the wind says, I bet you I can get that guy to take his coat off. In fact, I could take it off of him myself. And the sun said, okay, go for it. I think I could do it. So the wind, the approach of the wind to get this guy to take the coat off was to just blow as hard on him as it possibly could to try and like peel the coat off of the guy. But all the guy did was just bundle up tighter and hold it on tight. Where the sun said, okay, my turn, and shines bright, puts out a bunch of warmth, and the guy just takes the coat off on his own. Now, obviously, what we're getting at here is that most marketing most approaches that we take are that wind approach, where we just hammer and tell people, do this, do this, do this, do this, where at the end of the day, if it's not the person's decision, then they're not going to do it on their own. So your marketing plan needs to take more of that sun approach. How are we going to get people to come to the conclusion that we are going to serve them the best possible way? And how are we going to find the people who have coats on that we wanted to take it off. Unfortunately, when you take the approach of the wind, you actually are breaking trust. So normally what happens is we take all those questions that I just listed at the beginning and we ignore all those questions and we tell them how many years we've been in business and why we're the best, and no one else is out there. There's no competition compared to us. We're the best, and everyone knows you're a liar. And so it breaks the trust. That's how most services are sold. And it's sad. Now, going back to Marcus Sheridan, this is what I want to talk about in his book. One of the things that impacted me the most is that he says that honest and transparent communication is the greatest sales and trust building tool in the world. Think about that for a second. If you think about it, this is like the exact opposite of that whole approach to the wind, is that honest and transparent communication is the greatest sales and, most importantly, trust building tool in the world. Again, if we're talking to researchers, this is what's really important. So I want to go down that list that I gave. Oh, Michelle, were you going to say something?
So that is interesting to me, because I feel like we're almost in this, what's the right word? This time period where the trend, I guess trend is the word I was looking for, where it's, and it's partly with the whole internet, with social media, with so much information being accessible. And then a lot of researchers like Brene Brown and others, talking about the power of vulnerability and how important that is, that we almost feel this sense of entitlement that we deserve whatever information we want to know, and we deserve it now. And so instead of just, in the past where it's like, I can ask questions, I might get an answer. It's just, we feel we are entitled to it. So if we don't get that honest and transparent communication, we almost feel betrayed, or just, we feel like we were wronged because we feel it's our right and entitled
Treated
to that.
unfairly.
Yeah, treated unfairly.
Yeah.
You see that.
Yeah. It's actually, it's so interesting you say that, because when it says, when Marcus Sheridan's quote here says it's trust building, we're going to talk about it in just a little bit, but I'll just pre-allude to this, is that, like you said, we're almost entitled to having this experience because we can get it like all day long through different channels. One thing that's really important to understand is that when people expect to find something and they don't find it there, when I go to like do a Google search and I type something in and I go to a website that feels like it's used that search term to try and trick me into something else, I immediately invalidate everything that comes from that source. It's so important. So I think that that's sort of the backside of what we're talking about, is as we're trying to build trust, don't break trust. So let me go through the list. The first thing I had on that list was what can go wrong. Now, anyone who cleans roofs, they look at this picture and they go, oh my gosh, this is horrific. Because not only is that roof not cleaned very well, but those shingles have been destroyed. They're basically garbage now. And that's a really expensive fix. Not to mention the fact that the homeowner will have no way of even possibly knowing that that's the case unless they go up on their own roof. So there's all sorts of like crazy things going on here. But if you think that telling your customer that things can go wrong will make them nervous, that's just not true. Everybody knows that something can go wrong, and anyone who denies that anything can go wrong is losing trust. So we have to take opportunities to allow our customers to understand through our sales process that we understand this can go wrong. And if you select a company other than ours, it probably will. This can go wrong. We don't have this problem very often, but if it did happen, this is how we solve it. You don't have to lead with it. You don't have to make it your whole sales pitch. You do have to acknowledge it. It's got to be part of the onboarding of a customer. As they're doing their research, they need to find that you acknowledge it, you embrace it, you have a plan B, you're doing something about it. And why not? Let them know that your competition might not know about this thing. Or if they do know about it, they're not as good at handling it as you are. So by putting it out there in the open, you're helping your customer to believe you and build trust. Does that make sense?
That totally makes sense. It's risk management, not emphasizing it, but being, open and honest about it. One thing I'm curious from our listeners, when you go, and again, it can be with any kind of service or on Amazon or anywhere else. When you go look at someone's reviews, do you click on the 5-star or the 1-star first? I'm actually curious. Usually I read the
Michelle
good
and I
ones
think,
first,
are
and then
always,
bad.
well, I think we're usually opposite just because we're different personalities. Because a lot of the things you say, I'm like, oh, I don't do that. Maybe I should start doing that. I don't look at the suggested ones till later. I click on the reviews and I look through pictures. I'm looking for pictures, and if I can't find pictures of a review of a product, I almost start looking for something else because I'm just very visual.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's, and you know what? That's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up. That list of stuff I was bringing up, it's like throwing a net out into the ocean to catch fish.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to catch every square inch of fish with every fish. Like we're not going whale fishing, for example, and like every single thing matters to every single person. But where something might work really well for Michelle, Nicole is going to be, queuing into something different.
Right.
So I think that's important too. But yeah, so I am one of those people that goes to the 1-star reviews just to see, first of all, are there a lot of them? No. Right. Okay. Half of those people are crazy anyway. They've never had a good experience in their life. So that's cool. I want to see if I can find an intelligent person explaining something to me that I can live with.
And if the company, like you said, provided a solution, which if it's a 1-star, probably not, but then that's where the opportunity in replying to them. So, hey, look, this isn't a normal thing.
I'm looking for responses from the business too, to see how they respond. And Brian on our page is watching. He said he clicks on the 1-stars first too.
Oh yeah,
so
Brian. All right.
He's with you.
Well, I'll only click on something if they have a tons of 5 stars. I just start out that way. But I want to read the good first, and then I want to know the bad. But some people want to know the bad first. So I mean, yeah.
I'll tell you something. I have this this phone case, and in it is it holds my credit cards and stuff. Mm-hmm. When the new phone came out, I wanted to get the phone, but they didn't have the case yet. So I went ahead and I just got the phone because I knew it was going to sell out really fast and I wanted to have it. But I died for like 3 weeks because I was waiting for I need this case. It's like, it's my wallet, it's my phone, it's simple, it's it's all the things I want. And my wife was laughing at me because she's like, I don't write reviews about anything, but I'm like, I am so, because I had it on my previous phone. My wife's like, my gosh, do you love that stupid $25 case more than you love that stupid phone? Like, yeah, I think I do. I'm the guy who would go out and write like a 5-star review glowing about it. And then there's people who are in there who are like, sometimes the magnet comes detached or whatever. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This is the best thing since sliced bread. So I know that when it comes to different things matter to different people, but
I think the principles, I mean, if you follow these principles we're talking about, it's going to touch on, the different things people are looking for.
Yeah. Well, let me go on to the next one, because this is another one that's important, is that a lot of us are afraid of tipping off our customers that we have competition. And so we ignore them. Like, you want me to come do a window cleaning? Well, when you get to their house to do the bid, if you do it in person, there's already 4 or 5 cards laying on the counter. They already knew. By the way, your customer has Google. Like, they know. So ignoring them is sort of like kind of crazy. It's almost like the riskiest thing in the world, but it's what a lot of people do, I think, with their bank accounts too. They're like, I'm just going to ignore my bank account. I don't want to know how much money is in there. And that's how I'm going to manage my finances. And I think we've managed our competition similarly. Now, your customer's not doing that. So you just need to recognize that if you take that approach, if you don't understand what your competition offers, if you don't understand how they price their services, if you don't understand what they do, what they include in their services, that's probably coming from a pretty noble spot in you, but you'll never understand what your customer's experience is going to be because you have no clue what you're up against. When you pitch your services, you don't know what they do. And a lot of you will say to me, well, Kurt, that's really disrespectful to call your competition and get a fake quote, find out what they do and all that. Well, it may be disrespectful, but you know what? It may be disrespectful to your competition because you're wasting their time. Just so you know, you've already wasted a bunch of your time doing it for your competition. They already do it to you. Second thing in that is, how respectful is it to your customer for you to not to be able to properly position yourself in the marketplace? If Lexus doesn't know what a Lamborghini does because they're trying to be respectful, it's going to be really hard to say I'm a luxury product. And then when someone says I have a Lamborghini, well, that's another luxury product too. We're basically the same. Well, bull honky, first of all. And second of all, if that's how you're positioning yourself, I can't trust you. You are an idiot. Not like because you're a bad person, but like in this particular regard, you're an expert and you don't know jack. So this is one where I get a little bit passionate about, but like if you're bringing something great to the world, you need to understand in the context of what the customer's looking, do you really? Because you keep saying you offer something great, but are you offering exactly the same thing everybody else is? And how will you know that? So your customers have Google, so do you. Like, take advantage of it and don't ignore it. Don't put your head in the sand. That's all I'm saying. Has anybody freaked out in the comments section yet about this? Because I know this is a super sore subject.
No one's freaking out yet.
Okay. They're only doing it internally. Everybody who is watching right now is like, I can't believe he said that. But it's true. I stand by it. Change my mind.
You know what? And just a side note here, if you're too scared to call around, we actually do that for a lot of companies all the time. You give us a list of companies you want us to call, list of questions. Our Jills are phenomenal. We literally do it all the time.
Industry research.
But it's true. And, you know, we'll sometimes even give them some of our own to do because you feel almost, if you feel a little awkward or a little off, delegate it out. But I totally agree with you that it's super important to do, whether you do it or you have someone else do it.
Yeah. So when the customer says, what's so special about you, you need to be able to answer that question and you need to be able to answer it truthfully, right? So the next one is reviews. I'm going to just tell a quick story here real quick because this is important that people understand. I found this business card online. I don't know Benny. All I know is that there was a website there and a phone number, and I was able to figure out a little bit about his business by just researching this, what I would consider a very lackluster business card design online. And I wanted to learn a little bit more about him. It says right on the card that he's clearly the best. So that's a tagline. And if you're a window cleaning company, you think it's super cute because windows are clear and you're clearly the best. Ha 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 ha. Your customers are totally enthralled by it. They can't believe how clever that is. Anyway,
we've never had these conversations. Like, I wonder how high he jumped when he thought of that.
Now here's the thing. Anybody who does something I call weeing all over themselves, we are the best, we are awesome, we've been in business this long, we, when they wee all over themselves, your customer is so like not interested. Like they're like, oh, cool. They think they're the best. This is shocking, So what I want to do for reviews, I want to see if this guy's clearly the best, how does he measure up? Well, I can't believe it, but I found a 1-star review. Now, you need to know before I read this review to you, Benny's out of business. Benny hasn't been in business a long time. I think he started another job, like working for someone else. So this review back in 2013 was really about a company who wouldn't answer their phone because he'd already started a new job. Like I did a little research here on Benny. I don't know if this is weird. I don't want to make this too weird, but I found out that Benny is a great guy. He has lots of good reviews, but this review basically is saying he's not going to call you back. He's not going to do anything. And by the way, he's probably sitting at a cubicle somewhere at corporate America, and he's not doing his business anymore, except for maybe on the weekends. He just doesn't care anymore. But here's my point. My point is that here's a review that's going to carry weight. And guess what? It carries way more weight than we're clearly the best. You can print that on your business card if you want. Just understand you're wasting the space. And as you complimenting yourself, your customer is losing trust in you. Okay. Now,
it reminds me real quick. Well, 2 things. One, Marquise White says, great points. I love the honesty. So thank you for tuning in there.
Good.
That principle, I don't remember a lot of things from junior high, but I do remember one thing in my 7th grade English class. Our teacher brought in someone that published some articles in a magazine to come and talk to us and inspire us on how to write. And I'll never forget, it's a basic thing, but at the time, it was the first time I heard it, is she wrote, to write effectively, the focus is you show, don't tell. So you don't tell things, you have to show it. And so I think it's really that same concept. And I think that the less space you have to write, because every marketing piece you do or your website is all all a work of writing, but that you want to show, not tell you're the best, show you're the best. You got to prove it by showing it, not saying it. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Well, you know what you just did? You just took me into like that's exactly where I'm wanting to go. Is if I'm going to tell you I'm clearly the best, what does that even mean? What if I said on my business card, what if I took that same exact space and said in finer print maybe, but I said the only company that if we make a mistake, the job is free.
Oh, I love that.
Now, people are freaking out right now. Oh my gosh, I make mistakes, I'm human. Sure. But guess what? Clearly the best, they were numb. When the person read that, it didn't do jack for them. But as soon as you say, if we make a mistake, it's free, you've got people who are either going to use you and win because it'll be perfect, or they'll use you and win because it wasn't perfect.
It's like the 30-minute pizza delivery. You're like hoping that he shows up 31 minutes late. But yeah, people want to use you. They're going to call you out for it. And Janine, thanks for commenting again. I think she was talking about our previous point where we were talking about researching your competitors. She says, it might sound harsh, but your competitors in real world terms are your enemies. And one should always understand their enemies and themselves. And then quotes a book there that, if
Sun Tzu?
Yep. So, right on, Janine.
She couldn't be more right. And the fact is that there's a marketplace that needs to be owned. And what she says does sound harsh. We don't want to think of like going out on the battlefield every day and slaughtering our competition. But when you're feeding your family, when you're feeding your employees' families, it is unrealistic to believe that when we're fighting for the same dollars from the same people, to ignore your enemy, if that's what we're going to call them, it's fair, right? To ignore them is so wrong. And the thing is that when you go to bid a job or when you give someone a quote, you're also being unfair to the people who are parting with their money if you can't answer their questions. And that's sort of my point, is that let's put the nice spin on it. Let's take the swords and cutting people's heads off out of it. Let's just say that all we want to do is make sure we're serving our customers at the highest level possible. If you can't answer their questions about what's the difference between this person and you, or why are you charging twice as much as this other company, if you can't answer that question, you're not unshoppable. And that's the whole point of this slide, is that if I'm going to say something to you, I'm going to show you, like you said, I'm going to show you how I'm the best. If I'm going to say something that is freaking my customer out and making my competition, their knees shake, then you're not unshoppable. You're just another bag of flour on the same shelf. You add organic to that flour, you get to charge more, right? But if there's 3 organic flours and there's the cheapest one, you're still going to pick the cheapest organic flour, unless you say this is organic flour that was beat out by people who have mental handicaps, couldn't get a job anywhere else. We hired them and we gave them an opportunity to make this flour, and it's 4 times more expensive than any others, but you're giving an opportunity to these handicapped people who couldn't get jobs otherwise, right? Like whatever. I'm making this up as I go. I hope I'm making sense. My point is that you'll pay more if you can't shop it out. Like you're doing something that you're making a promise and you're willing to keep it. You're willing to keep a promise that no one else is even willing to make. Boom, you're unshoppable. So, is there any other questions in the comment section we need to address?
I think we're good right now. Yeah, so keep going. I love this.
Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the difference between a commodity. I just talked about flour on the shelf at the store. I want people to understand that a commodity will bring the lowest possible price. So if you are going to price yourself as clearly the best, or we're a window cleaning company, or we're a maid service company, and leave it there, you will command the absolute lowest possible price because you're a commodity. Okay. So I'm going to give a couple examples of some really crazy, weird things. And I want people to just not use these as like gospel truths, but I want people to be considering why they would pay more for something like this. So you already said on time or it's free with pizza. So that's a good example, right? Maybe a radically different business model. So maybe you say something like, you only pay, so in Asian, or I think it's Chinese medicine, they say, if you're not healthy, you're not going to work. As your doctor, you don't pay me. But for healthcare, you pay me when you're healthy. You come see me every week or every month or whatever you want. I'm going to keep you healthy and you'll keep paying me. But when you're sick, you don't. Well, what if your cleaning company says you don't pay me when something's dirty versus when it's clean? You'd have to put some fences around that, but that's obviously different and make your customer think and go, wow, that's really interesting. I'm just going to pay them a monthly fee. And then like maybe if they don't do a good job or whatever, and I notice something's not clean, then I wouldn't pay that particular month. Maybe a proprietary solution or a proprietary result. I know Zero Res carpet cleaning, they have made probably billions of dollars off of just saying that we have a radically different way of cleaning your carpets. And people who clean carpets, most of the time just ignore it and go, we're just going to keep cleaning with, the same chemicals everybody else uses. And, that's why Zero Res is enjoying the profit margins that they are. Here's another one. Who can tell me how many years Apple has been in business? Or if you're not an Apple person, Microsoft, or Google. Here's the deal. People put on their homepage, been in business 20 years. No one remembers that. You know why they don't? Because nobody cares. Just like you couldn't tell me how many years your favorite grocery store has been in business, or your favorite technology company, or your favorite car company. Like, you can't tell me that because you don't care. And yet people are leading with it. So instead of talking about your experience, we want to talk about the customer's experience. We're the only company that brings a masseuse with us to every single job. You will be getting a massage the entire time we clean.
Which company is that, Kurt?
Yeah. It's like, I'll buy that. Yeah. And you don't even care how much it costs anymore, right?
Yeah, we have a lot of massage therapy clients, and we wish all of them were like in Utah, because the ones that are local, we bring them in all the time to their office. So
yeah, massage is awesome. But the thing is that if you're talking about what the customer experience is, you can see how it quickly drops off the need to know the cost or commanding the lowest possible price as a commodity. We can talk about fast benefits. Maybe we're the only company that can clean all the windows in your house in less than 20 minutes because you send a crew of 30 people, right? Or whatever it might be. Maybe it's the warranty or the guarantee. Be careful with that one because lots of people have a 100% satisfaction guarantee. You need to make it more stand on its own feet. Maybe you're the only company that collects payment 2 weeks after the carpets are cleaned. When I come back and I see that none of the stains reappeared. Maybe it's the way you bundle your services. We're the only company that can provide you this service, and this service all at one time, which is how it should be done, but nobody does that. So I'm just trying to throw out ideas to get people's minds spinning. But the idea is what can you say that will take you off of that commodity shelf and put you as this standalone, this is how I'm going to have to buy this. Like, this is the only option for me now. No one else does this. Now,
and now I'm throwing in a little curveball here, but to
sure.
me, when you're saying that, I feel like in essence, you're kind of constantly raising the bar of whatever your industry is in your area. You're saying, well, we're taking it here. So do you think that, I guess it's a matter of how many businesses are really doing this, and few really are. So if you do it, you have a competitive edge. But in theory, if everyone started doing this, you'd constantly almost having to be up in your game. Just because, I'm going to start doing that too. But I think, sorry, sure. I'm processing this out loud, but I'm assuming most businesses don't even do this in the first place. So if you're setting any kind of bar, you're probably going to stay there for quite a while.
Don't forget, most of your competition has their head in the sand, like I was talking about at the very beginning. Keep in mind too, that if it's proprietary, like Zero Res, I can't get access to their cleaning chemicals or their cleaning process. So there's things like that. But yes, they're raising the bar. Don't forget, you can also lower the bar. Here's what I mean by that, is that maybe it's super profitable for you to offer only one service. So when people call you up and they say, I'd love to give you some money to do this, this thing that's similar to what you do. And you're saying, we don't do that. We don't do that. We give you the cheapest possible driveway cleanings. That's it. We'll clean driveways, or we'll clean garbage cans. We clean your garbage cans out. And that's all we do. Yes, we have a pressure washer, but we're not going to do your house. Yes, we have a pressure washer, but we're not going to do your roof. We're going to do this one thing. We do it really, really well. We lowered the bar to this thing. But here's the deal. In so doing, you're not going to go to a heart surgeon and ask for a brain surgery, even though I'm sure he's got really steady hands and he's gone to a lot of school. The point is that I know I'm going to get my best value from this specialist. So you can lower the bar and cut out stuff, and in so doing, effectively raise the bar.
I like
so, does that make sense?
Yeah, it reminds me of In-N-Out, basically. They're just
yes,
like, make the very best burgers, and it's effective.
Yeah. Now, and In-N-Out, if you go there and you say, I want a chicken breast sandwich, they're gonna say, Chick-fil-A, like that's not happening here, and they'll tell you no, well, they can't, they don't have anything in the refrigerator. But what we do as service companies, a lot of times we go, hey, if I'm gonna stop at this house, I'm gonna make as much money as I possibly can at this house. But at what cost? Maybe it's perfect for you, and maybe you're doing just the wrong thing. But that's why what we're talking about here, you don't have to worry about getting too mirrored, because nobody is probably watching you close enough from a competition standpoint. And even if they are you doing something that's so special that someone is willing to do that hard thing? So anyway, but actually that does bring me to this point. The question that I asked earlier is what is the best option? So if I want to buy a sedan or a car, the best option, I don't know a lot about cars, so just kind of bear with me here, but the best option might be a Lamborghini made out of carbon fiber with titanium drive shafts, knuckle bearing cylinders, whatever. So I don't know what I'm talking about, but I do know that there are cars out there that are way better than the Toyota Sienna that I drive. Way better. But I don't care about them. I just want to know they exist. The only reason I want to know where they exist is because I want to know where in the pecking order I'm at. So most companies are obsessed with clean. I'd be curious to know how many people listening right now, how many people would say they're the best at what they do in their area. Because if I was in an audience right now and I asked people to raise their hands, my experience is that about 90% of the people are going to raise their hands. We're the best. And a lot of times, most of those people are in the same, they'll be in the same market even, which is cute and everything else. But here's the deal. Do you really want to be the best? If you want to be the best window cleaner, you got to bring a Q-tip with alcohol and little tiny razor blades to clean out every track. Every single piece of glass will need to be removed, cleaned, bearings lubricated, wheels, windows reinstalled. Like if you're going to be the best, and I'm talking Lamborghini best, I mean, the headlight on that car, I don't think I can afford the headlight on a Lamborghini. And that's okay. I'm glad people that exist that can have that. But if I was a car manufacturer, do you think that that's what I would want to do? I don't think I would. I think I would much rather appeal to people in the middle and offer a great value that no one else can touch. And I think that a person doing that that's pretty exciting to watch right now is Tesla. They're trying to really push the boundaries of what's possible, making promises that no one else is willing to keep, but they're trying to bring the price down into an area to attract people that wouldn't otherwise be able to afford maybe that fancy of a car. And they're thinking really hard about that customer experience. And what they're seeing is that they're catching the bleeding edge people, but they're also catching some of the early adopters and other people because they've said, we're not going to be the best car in the whole world, but we're going to be a really awesome car that can do things that other cars can't, but we're going to bring it down in price to other people. So that leads me to the last one I want to talk about right now, and as far as answering the questions, and that is, how much does it cost? If you think about services, this is the worst part of service companies. And it's not because we as service companies are horrible. It's because it's hard to tell someone how much it costs. Again, I came from window cleaning and pressure washing world. If someone called me up and said, how much does window cleaning cost? Well, it's complicated. How many windows do you have? How many square feet is your house? How many stories is your house? Do you have a basement? Do I have to get down in basement wells? How long has it been since your windows were cleaned? Do you have wooden windows or aluminum windows? Do you have pigeons living above your window? Like, there's so many questions, right? And for me to figure out what it costs for you can be really difficult. And that in and of itself is when I start talking about Lamborghinis selling cars, service people, they're going to roll their eyes back because they go, cars are not services. That's true. That's like 100% true. But here's the thing. When people are used to buying products and it's so easy, how do you think they feel when they go to buy services and getting this question answered is hard? It's like a non-starter almost. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, this is way harder than, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to worry about getting the maid service to come. I'm not going to worry about getting my carpets cleaned or have my garage door repaired. Like, I'll just deal with this because this sucks. And if you get customers saying that, then the question you have to kind of internally focus on yourself is how quickly and easily can I get a price to my customer? And that sort of takes me into, this is where ResponsiBid is really strong, but I think that anyone can do this outside of our software, is that whenever you put a price in front of the customer, you need to get there as fast as you can. And you need to forget about the $5 thing. Like if getting the price down to the right $5 increment is going to cost your customer an ounce of ouch, time or pain or suffering. And I'm not even talking about $5 really. I'm talking about $20. Like, people are fairly elastic if you can show them the value, but you get all focused on, well, I don't know, it's like 50 cents more for me to do this. And at the end, on the final invoice, that could be a total of like $5. You're overthinking it. First of all, you're making it so it's hard to get there. The second thing is that, remember all those business cards that are sitting on their counter? Everybody's in research mode. Every time you give them one price, they say to themselves, got another data point, got another data point. It costs this much for this company. It costs this much for this company. It costs this much for this company. And when they feel like they have enough data points, they'll make a decision. But you need to give them all the data points. You need to help them feel like they're sitting in a restaurant right now. Here's all your data points. Which one do you want? Because if they stay in research mode, they're not going to buy from you. If you can move them to decision-making mode, they will buy from you. So the idea is that whenever you give someone a price, you give them 3 prices or 2 prices. Or, heaven forbid, don't give them an ultimatum. Do not give them one price. Don't say to them, it's $800 or we don't do business. Because when you say that, you're just another data point. They have to call your competitor in order to feel justified in moving forward. So you're going to say this or this, good, better, best, this or this, A or B. Because,
oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just wondering, have you found, because I definitely get the power in that and giving options. But then also I know, is there like a magic number? And it might depend on the type of service and everything, because I know too many options can be overwhelming too. Oh gosh, I don't know where to go. So it seems like there's some, range of magic number of how many options are like the perfect amount to not overload your brain, but to make you feel like you're choosing something.
Yeah, that's a great question. So have you ever been to Baskin Robbins 31 flavors or whatever it is? Yeah. And you know that feeling, like it's not even a life-shattering thing, but you're like, what if I get chocolate truffle and I just kick myself because I didn't get the cookies and cream or the sweet cream or whatever it is. And you're like for whatever reason, when we as humans make decisions, it always feels like this is such an important decision. I've gotten to the point.
There's always fear of missing out, right? Like, oh my gosh, what did I not get?
Yeah. Now I'm going to be a lot different than you. I've dealt with like watching my wife make these decisions for so long that it's so painful for me that I don't even decide anymore when I go to a restaurant. I just like have the waiter pick for me because I can't do it. I like
stole that trick from you, by the way. I do it almost every time we go to a restaurant.
I'm like, hey, waiter, waitress, server, you know everything on the menu. What's the best thing? That's the one I'll have.
Have you ever been disappointed?
One time I got spinach enchiladas where I think the spinach might have turned. I bet they would have been delicious, but instead it felt like I was tasting a shoe. And so I didn't like that one. But other than that, it's always been a positive experience.
They know. Yeah, that's true. They know.
Yeah. But here's the thing. You asked the question, what's the magic number? The magic number is your brain does really well with 3s. If you can get 3, you're doing really good. You already alluded to the fact that in some instances, that's not possible. Like if you're trying to get a pool package for your backyard and you're getting ready to drop, $40,000, $50,000 on a pool with the landscape design around it and stuff, probably good, better, best isn't going to work quite right. But you might have a good, better, best pool with a good, better, best lighting system, with a good, better, best waterfall system, with a good, better, best landscape around it. If we can get you into those 3s, you're more prone to pull the trigger. And that's what we want. We want you to move from, well, I don't know, let me think more about this, to can you deal with these 3? Okay, just pick which of these 3 you want. Go to Baskin Robbins 31 flavors, it's not life shattering, but just that 31 load on your brain is like, oh gosh, okay, I'm going to need a minute. Let me walk outside and think about this for a second. I gotta calm. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but only a tiny bit about how the beautiful woman I married sort of like operates.
Well, it's funny you say that, because when I go to places that give you so many different options, one of my first questions is, well, how many can I get combined into one?
How high can you stack the
And
ice cream
normally
cone?
the answer is 3. And then I kind of struggle still, but then I feel better knowing I'm not stuck to just one. Because if you just stick me to one, I'll pick one and then I would be like, no, wait. Can I change that? And then I'll change it.
So my kid goes and gets Slurpees, and he'll like go to every single Slurpee flavor and get them. And I'm assuming at the end it tastes like vomit, but
No.
he's like that. He's like, oh, I got every single one. And I'm
No,
like,
when you pull on the straw, you slide the straw up, and then you get all the flavors.
There's
on
a
it.
strategy to it.
he mixes them up though. He mixes them with the straw.
No, you can't do that. Then it just,
Yeah, it makes me want to like die. Okay, so
real quick though is again, if you see 3 choices where, and I'm just curious if it's a personality thing, if it's just the way how this decision is made. But are you generally, if there's 3 options, good, better, best, are you a gooder? Are you a better? Are you a bester? That's.
Well, we found that it may very well depend on the type of car you drive and the watch you wear on your wrist. If I've got an Aston Martin in the garage and I wear a $60,000 Rolex watch, I might not even look at what's inside the packages. I just choose whatever's at the top and stop giving me decisions. I just want to be done. If you've scrimped and saved and you're really, really cautious with your dollars, you may find that you find yourself more on one end. We do know from ResponsiBid that about 70% of decisions that are made are going to fall right in the middle. Some people say, I don't need to have the best, but I couldn't live with the worst, and I just need to sort of fall in the middle. So it typically goes about, and these numbers fluctuate month to month, but it's usually like 20% are the best, and 20% are the good, and then 70% are the better, and 10% are the best. That's sort of a really rough idea, but your strategy might be totally different. You may make your best just a few dollars more so that people look at that middle one and go, gosh, for just a few more dollars, I can just get the top package. It's however you do your pricing strategy, and that's a whole nother conversation. But if you want someone to be able to have enough decisions that they're not overwhelmed, but that they feel like they have enough data points to move forward and move out of research mode, 3 is a great number. And it's proven time and time again. But here's the thing. People will ask all the time, they'll say, what's your best price? This is a very common thing that you'll hear, like if someone's haggling, or what's your best price? When you say what your best price is, that's a yes or no question. Like, yes, I'll do it. No, I won't. It's a haggling question. It's a dead end question. So instead of best price, we want to say, well, here's our best offering. We have a good and a better, good, better, and best, but here's the, so we don't want to have yes or no questions. We want to have, which of these were you most interested in? Now, just to go back to the restaurant thing for just a second, I know we've talked about restaurants probably too much, but here's the thing.
Lunchtime.
I love seafood. When I go into a seafood restaurant, it's very common, this is not unusual at all, to see that there's certain things on the menu that are market price. I am no seafood restaurant owner, so I get it. Like, I'm assuming that Dungeness crab is sometimes super cheap and other times really expensive, and they need to cover their booties. Like, I understand that. I just want everyone to know that you're not weird if you're like me and you sit in the restaurant and you skip right past everything that says market price, because you don't know, you don't want to look dumb, you don't want to ask, you don't want to like get in a weird situation. And frankly, it just takes way more calories to burn. You're already hungry. I don't want to like make this a thing. I just want to be done. Now, if they wrote them in each day, if they just had a dry erase marker or something that they could write it in every day, then I would even consider it. But the fact that I'm going to have to like do extra things to find that out, I'm just not interested. And most people aren't. And so if they go to your website and they go, how much is it to get this thing? Or they call you, how much is it to get this thing? And say, well, we can come out to your house in 2 days and we can walk around it and we can count everything up and we can make this as painful for you as we possibly can. Well, they're just not that interested. And I think we do that with services a lot. And it's not because, again, we don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot, but we just need to understand that the customer on the other end we may have a problem that's worth solving. And that is helping them to not have to look at market price and look at like, well, if I pick up the phone, I call them, take a day off of work. Hopefully they show up in 2 days. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. I'm going to have 4 competitors come out as well so that I have enough data points. So I'm going to take a whole day off work and talk to a bunch of service providers who are going to walk on my property, talk to me, tell me about their kids and have a bunch of small talk. And then they're going to all leave. Some of them are going to show, some of them aren't. Then I'll be able to make a decision and take another day off work so they can come do the work. Most people don't get excited about that. It is what it is. We also live in a world where this is the people who are buying from us now. Like they do not want to feel like, oh, like I get this is like the crazy girlfriend approach, but here's the thing. Most people go, you're going to make me wait? Ugh, something's up. What? Why? They don't even know that they don't trust you. People don't, because they understand where you're coming from, but they don't understand like I can have everything else that I want right when I want it. I want what I want when I want it right now. And they're making me wait. Okay, I guess it makes sense. But inside, the trust is like, why can't they just be transparent? Why can't they just give me the price? Well, it's complicated. I get it, but why can't you just give me the price anyway? You know? All right.
All right, so Dawn just got on. Hey, Dawn Winter. She said, very useful info. I am taking notes.
Oh, good. Dawn Winter?
Yes, Dawn Winter.
Oh, I love Dawn. That's awesome. Very cool. So our biggest goal as service providers is that I've already talked about how we break trust. What we want to do is we want to restore trust. So I'm going to go through a really quick list. This is just to get your brain thinking. The first thing we're going to do is we're not going to provide any inconvenience. We're not going to apply pressure. This is a research world. Researchers do not want to be pressured. We don't want to waste people's time. I know everyone's got a cell phone that can talk to outer space and back and everyone gets everything they want really, really fast. But for whatever reason, even though we can move faster than ever before, time is an all-time premium. We're not going to make people waste their time. We're not going to oversimplify things to the point where someone says, you didn't hear me. You didn't listen. Like I'm in a world where I'm an individual. So we need to have this balance between not wasting their time, but letting people feel heard. And that's an important part of our process. We're not going to have to talk to people in person. There's a lot of people who won't even answer their phone call for me unless you texted first. And I know that everybody's sitting there going, oh, that's me. Everybody's that person now. Like I'm not taking phone calls today unless you text me first and I'll give you a window of time that you can call me. I'm available now, but I will not pick up my phone unless you text me first. That's kind of the world. Now, are there still people who want to have that handshake phone call thing? Of course. I'm not ignoring that, but we just need to see where the trend's going. Where's the ball going? The ball is going to, if you force everyone to talk to you in person, that's totally fine. Just understand that the market that you used to serve is every day shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. Some people do phone calls. Some people want to do handshakes and stuff like that. And if you live in a particular town where that's how things are done, then cool. Make sure you keep doing that. Just understand that I don't care where you live. I don't care if you're in Ethiopia. That number is getting smaller every day. So, and then the other thing is don't ignore people. Obviously people want to feel heard right away. And that's where I think Jill's office really comes into is when your phone rings, if someone got all that telephonophobia pushed down and said, I'm going to call them, and then you don't answer, trust broken, right? So here's what we are going to do. We're going to allow people full service or self-service. Figure out a way where you can have your own checkout line. Some way, somehow. How can a customer feel like they're able to serve themselves? That's the checkout line that is the busiest at the grocery store and at Home Depot and on Amazon. Everybody wants that option. Figure out how to get that done. Full service, there's people that want that. Make sure you don't stop doing that if that's the kind of business you want to run. Always follow up with people. We're always going to make sure that we're answering all those questions that people want in the follow-ups. Make sure that people feel like they're validated. They're given links to blog posts that you've written that answer the questions. Make sure that you're acknowledging in that follow-up all of the different things that might be holding someone back from moving from research to decision mode. We're going to make it quick and slick. Again, not wasting people's time. We're going to be transparent because your competition already knows. And the customer already knows about the competition. So we're going to be transparent. We live in a day and age where we can use video. People will actually watch a video where they would never want someone to come to their house. You can put a video up on your website telling your customers things that you would love to tell them in person that you would never get an opportunity to tell them in person. And guess what? What's even cooler about that is that now when you show up to their house, they're already your best friend. And they're already like, oh my gosh, I feel like I know you. Yeah, every single time. Like I promise you, video is a powerful tool for selling and answering those questions and getting those things stripped down. And of course, we always want to underpromise and overdeliver. That really does go back to what I think is a super important quote from Stephen Covey. We always want to make sure that we're part of the solution, not part of the problem. And if you understand what the problem is, you can be the solution. Do not bury your head in the sand. We're going to help people mentally check off all of the things we talked about at the beginning. We want them to know what can go wrong and how we're going to avoid it. We want them to know what other options are out there. We want reviews and social proof, people saying that you're great that aren't you. We want people, and we want people who say you're crazy. We want the crazy people to say you're crazy too, so that you can go in and have your responses. Those are just as important. We want people to know what makes you different. We want people to understand what the gold standard is that may not be you. Understand, we don't come in and do these things. If you want that thing, call this company. But we find that to be a complete waste of time, and we don't find it a good value for your dollar, so we don't do it. And then we want to make sure that people understand what the cost is, and we want them to be able to measure that cost against value. So that's where those package options I was saying. If you want to be this happy, you'll pay this much. If you want to be a little less happy, you'll pay this much. And if you just kind of want to be happy-ish, you'll pay this much. And now people can let them determine how many dollars in exchange for happiness are they willing to give. Because now they're in control of the experience, and that's what a researcher wants. So there's 3 takeaways. We need you to make sure that you get your customers out of research mode as fast as you possibly can. Do not give your customers ultimatums. Make sure that you can give them the pricing as fast as possible and sell it with packages. No ultimatum, decision mode. And then the last thing is don't make your customers work too hard to get their questions answered. Make sure those answers are in your follow-up, on your website, in videos, and any medium that you can imagine that somebody typing in Google searches is looking for. If you're the one answering the question, that's that Marcus Sheridan book, They Ask You Answered, you will put their minds at ease. But selling is not about being the salesperson anymore. It's about catering to the researcher and helping them to get what they want, when they want it, and have the trust in you as they move through that whole process. If you do that, you'll win every single time.
Love it. Love it. Kurt, thank you so much. That was amazing. A couple of things I just want to point out here. If you are in the service industry, particularly the home services, and you don't know about ResponsiBid, definitely check it out. So many of these principles that Kurt talked about today are just made easy for you with that amazing bidding software. So we'll put a link to it in here. So be sure to check that out. And then the other thing, if you want more of Kurt's vast knowledge, he's got an event coming up in February, and we're excited for a few reasons. Number one, because it's going to be in Arizona in February, and we live in Utah, so we're all about going to the sun. It's after, that January, February months are brutal in Utah. Mm-hmm. But then also, well, tell us a little bit about what they learn at ResponsiCon.
Yeah, so ResponsiCon is going to be a selling conference for service companies. We're really going to have a bunch of users of our software and other experts in the service industry help people to refine out their sales process. If you have a service company and you feel like you could close 2% more jobs or 5% more of the leads that you're getting, you need to be at ResponsiCon. Unlike every other conference that is held for service business owners, this one is designed to not send you home super inspired with a bunch of notes. Our whole goal is that you will go there, take down notes, and then we have hacker rooms for you to sit down with other business owners. And actually, if you use ResponsiBid, you can automate a bunch of stuff. Mm-hmm. If you're not using ResponsiBid, you can build out packages. You can talk to other experts. There'll be copywriters there, videographers to help you record videos, copywriters to help you write scripts for those videos. We'll have teleprompters for you. We'll have Syngym there to help you design postcards out. We'll have a guy, we'll actually have 2 people there that are designers to help you make flyers that will help to speak to your unique selling propositions and what specials you think are going to bring in your most profitable jobs. When you leave, you should have a whole arsenal of stuff. It's a 3-day event, January 30th, 31st, and February 1st. When you leave, Sure, you'll be inspired, but you're not just going to go back to the chaos and forget about that inspiration. You'll already have systems in place running so that you're kicking butt and taking names as you're on the airplane flying home. So yes, the weather's good. And yes, you're going to feel inspired. And yes, you're going to be around some of the most amazing people that I've ever met. But the coolest part of all is that when you're done, you will have done things. And if you sand off the edges of your process and you realize, oh my gosh, I've been dropping the ball in this area. I got to go talk to a bunch of people in a hacking room to get this. You're listening to someone on the main stage. You go into a hacking room. By the time you get to lunch, you've sanded things off and you're going to have a 5% higher close rate, which translates to thousands of dollars every year. So it's about that. That's the wins that we want. Every meal, breakfast and lunch, the whole 3 days will be provided. You'll be eating with other people, sharing ideas. The whole idea is to have community going so that people who are selling their services really well will sell them better. And people who aren't serving services very well are going to get a massive brain dump and lots of helpful things to move their own process along.
I love that. And I didn't even know about those hacker rooms.
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
And you practicing what you're preaching. I don't know if you even did this intentionally. It might just be a part of you, but where you talked about that unique selling proposition, I have been to tons of conferences. I've never heard of hack rooms that you actually leave, because that's what always happens is you have all these notes.
Yep.
And you go home and you maybe do one of them, maybe.
Yeah.
The fact you actually get it done there, that's huge. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, we learned that last year. We learned that people came and they were excited to hear about the features and the benefits and the new stuff in ResponsiBid, and they're excited to hear about what other people were doing in their business that was cool. And we did a little bit like roundtable stuff.
True. We did. Yes.
But the problem was that you had one person and like 8 people around the table or 10 people around the table. It was too big and it was too noisy. And the other thing is we found that if we can get the group smaller and have business owners just talking to other business owners and have a whiteboard, we found out like that should be going the whole time the main stage is going. The idea is that you should be sitting at the main stage, hit a mind bomb, go, oh my gosh, I got to do something. You just stand up and you walk out and you go find a room that's got a copywriter or a strategist in it or a, whatever, someone who's leading a conversation on a specific subject. That's the one. And you go in there and you say, this is what I want to implement into my follow-up process, or this is what I want to implement into my packages, or this is what I want to implement in my unique selling proposition. I want to get that message out. How am I going to do that? I'm not good with words. Can you help me? And this conference is geared towards making it from that mind bomb to by lunchtime, having it done.
Awesome. And now you don't have to be a ResponsiBid user to benefit. I mean,
No.
Who can come to this conference? I mean, anyone can come, but who will benefit from it?
Yeah. If you sell services, you should be at the conference. So, the more, if you use ResponsiBid, there are going to be things that you're going to learn about how to make your automation better. And so if you have ResponsiBid, you have to be there. Like if you don't go, that will be super sad. If you don't have ResponsiBid, you have to go there because that would be horrible for you to miss what you're going to learn. I guess you have to go. Now there's only 200 seats too. We've already sold over 100 of them. And so because the hacker rooms are going to be so small and there's going to be like, I think 20 hacker rooms, we just can't have more than 200 people there. So Jill's office, you'll be outside the hacker rooms. You'll have a little booth out there. The other cool thing is that as people are like working on their strategy for follow-up, they're going to be able to walk out to Jill's office and go, okay, one of my new follow-up steps is that I need a Jill to call my people 2 days after a quote. And this is what I want them to say. And they're going to come to you and they're going to be able to get stuff done. So the idea is that there'll be vendors out there for you to like, boom, boom, just hand stuff off, check it off the list and be done.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Marquise is asking for promo code or posting info. We'll definitely post info about the
ResponsiCon.
Yeah, about the conference, excuse me.
Oh,
yeah. So,
there's no promo code, but you do need to know this. If you go to, just go to responsibid.com, click on the ResponsiCon button. If you sign up before the end of October, there'll be a 4 masterclass series that we are going to put on for ResponsiCon users during the month of November. Anyone who has signed up for ResponsiCon before October 31st will be invited to these masterclasses that are going to be held once a week through the month of November. It's a preparation for when you get to ResponsiCon that you're going to be able to kick more butt while you're there. Because again, this is an action conference. This is not a passive absorption conference. I mean, you'll absorb, but you know what I'm saying.
Got it. Awesome. All right. And Richard Zanelli, thanks for joining in. He says, great class. Thanks, Stills, for organizing. For sure want to keep attending this type of conference calls. So thank you, Richard. Yes, keep coming back. And Kurt, thank you so much. I can't think of someone better, a better master of business to start us off here. So this was amazing today. So thank you. Thank you again for being here and for taking the time and sharing all this with us.
Thanks for having me. It's been great.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining in.
Thank you.
Yeah. Have a great rest of the day.
See you guys next time.
All right.